This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. Sometimes in life we're faced with tough decisions, and the path forward isn't always clear, whether you're dealing with decisions around career, relationships, or anything else. Therapy helps you stay connected with what you really want whilst navigating through life. Let therapy be your map with BetterHelp.com. Visit BetterHelp.com/IDK today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/IDK. Thank you to our sponsor, Factor. You looking for wholesome, convenient meals to support sunny, active days? Factor is America's #1 ready-to-eat meal kit. Can help you fuel up fast with flavorful and nutritious ready-to-eat meals delivered straight to your door. Head to factormeals.com/IDCAT50. Why have we put the 50 there? Use the code IDCAT50, IDKAT50 to get 50% off.
No.
That's the code IDCAT50 at factormeals.com/IDCAT50 to get 50% off. So that's the code. Go to factormeals.com/IDCAT50 and use the code IDCAT50 to get 50% off. Masturbating at home. Masturbating in the park. What is more socially acceptable? You might find out, and I don't know about that, with Forest Shore. I don't want to put my name on this one.
Wow. Awesome.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being on the podcast. What a week it's been. The tragedy in Milan. And
What?
I'm just trying, because we record these shows early. I try to predict what the news is going to be.
What happened in Milan?
Well, there was a murder, wasn't there?
Oh.
There's
one.
a chance
Big
there
one.
Now, when we look forward, let's find out if there was a murder in Milan. I bet you there was. She died too soon. I even put a she. The murder in Milan. Another submarine went down, didn't come up. You think they would have learnt their lesson?
Yeah, it's too soon, honestly.
Too
to
soon.
try.
Try to fix the window.
Yeah.
Don't use the same submarine. It exploded. You were just dunking people underwater.
They found the submarine?
Yeah, it exploded.
Oh.
They found it today.
Oh, okay.
It pressurized.
They cleaned it out?
No, just...
Oh, I think it's the same one, like they use the same one.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't exist. So they just dunk people in water. It was more of a weird joke. But you know it exploded, right? That's a good way to die, I reckon.
I didn't know that it exploded. I think the best way to die is you just fall asleep when the oxygen goes away, and then you're...
Yeah, but then you know
then
it's coming, and you have to look. The guy had to look at his son and go, "Sorry for bringing you on this."
No, you just kind of get really tired.
Probably a lot of trauma dumping in that submarine.
Did you see
It's
where
like
they...
the last conversations?
Yeah, that's true, man. That was
No, you want the one where you're just ducking down, you're full of hope, and then you just explode. What happens to the human body when that happens?
I think it explodes.
Yeah, does it disintegrate, or is there like a finger rolling around? What happens?
What do you mean? When the sub explodes and then it fills with water?
The sub explodes because the pressure
Implodes, yeah.
implodes,
Yeah.
and then you're in the pressure as well. So
get
your
crushed.
body
You get
immediately
crushed.
get crushed.
Yeah.
crushed. But do you disintegrate into nothing, or do you just like, or you're like a deflated lilo that's flapping around? You're like one of those fly guys at the front of car dealerships.
No, I don't think you'll disintegrate into nothing. I think then you'll just kind of... I don't know. I have no clue.
I've never exploded before,
Yeah.
but I will let you know.
They have
what
those
happens.
videos they put online where it's like, this car is hitting something at 10 miles an
Yeah,
hour. This
yeah.
one's hitting at 20. Have you seen that? Mm-hmm. And they just CG it. They need one for the sub.
Yeah.
Get on that. Let me make a note. I'll do that when I get home. Oh, Punchline Philly has tagged me in a reel.
Oh, good podcast.
Yeah.
Wow.
Speaking of that,
Wait,
does Jim have any takes?
You actually checked your phone to write down the car theory?
No, I just looked at it real quick, because I'm a good actor, so I wanted to look like I was actually reading it, you know.
And now you're actually reading it. Put it down. You're not focusing. You just got caught.
They just tagged me.
I do that with my son. I'm like, no devices,
Yeah.
no devices. We're watching a family movie, and then I'm sneaking my phone. Got to check me fantasy team. And then he's like, Dad, I thought you said no device. I'm like, it's a work thing. How do you think we pay for these movies?
So 2 episodes in a row with a helmet, huh?
I don't even notice it anymore.
Yeah.
It's part of him.
I've had the helmet on for so long that I think this will be a thing that I do. Like, I think if they ever make a movie of my life, the second half of the film will just be a bloke in a helmet like this, because this is what we're doing from here on in.
What is
You know what I like about it? Patriotic,
Yeah.
right? Got a microphone, so it means business.
Yeah.
And it's soft like a real space helmet.
Swaddles your head.
You know what I think it'd be good for? Sleeping on a plane.
Yeah, to be honest with you, yeah. Just get an eye mask.
We have a flight tomorrow. Will you please bring that in? It's a short flight, but
yeah, do it. Take a video, please.
Yeah, can you? Yeah, I'll take a video if you.
You're telling me it wouldn't be more comfy to sleep on a plane with this?
Oh no, 100% it'd be comfortable.
We're in full agreement. We want you to do it.
Are they gonna, number one, allow you to board the plane wearing that, and then two,
you put it on when you sit down?
Yeah.
I'm not doing it for a short haul flight. I'm not stupid. But if we do a longer than 3-hour flight, I'll wear it to sleeping purposes.
Yeah, most people are not seeing this helmet, by the way. Did you describe it last episode?
No, it's none of their business. This is as far as you're concerned, I'm wearing an extraordinarily realistic NASA space helmet, which was bought from NASA.
Which is soft.
It looks different on television, of course it does.
Yeah.
But cows look like horses, don't they?
That's a good point.
And so
it's even been used in a mission, right?
No, don't be silly, Kelly. Kelly's lying now.
That looks worn.
No. We run around the house with that type of stuff.
I'll just make shit up.
But it makes you feel like an astronaut.
Okay. How does your wife like it?
My wife likes me to talk like Chris Hemsworth, like from Extraction now. That's her new kink.
In the helmet.
So we have to speak like this. So what are you cooking there, Tazy? I come up behind her and she's like making she always seems to be frying mushrooms. My wife. Any time of day.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of options.
A vegan staple.
Yeah.
If you want to find her, she's got a frying pan out and some mushrooms are getting a beating.
We're having mushroom burgers.
Yeah. What else do you eat if you're a vegan? Mushrooms.
She just cooks a lot of mushrooms. You know, have I told the story about how our nanny used to bring food?
And you ate it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if you told it on the podcast, but you did tell it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
I thought she was cooking for me, but I was just eating her lunch every day.
Yeah.
she cooked for me once. She's like, Jim, I got you this, and then she's making tortillas from scratch, and she's like, I made you this, and here's a tamale, and I was like, oh wow, this is good. I get this part of me meal, but I don't give her extra money to bring food into the house. This food was just coming in, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I was like, I guess this is part of the thing. And then I'd go into the fridge each day, and there'd be like a plastic container filled with like really exciting Mexican food.
So you thought she just made it for you?
I think she was so happy about how I responded to the first meal that she was making me meals all the time. And so I would sometimes, she'd be there just sitting there, like Charlie would be having a nap or something like that. She'd be reading a magazine, and I'd sit down next to her with her food and a fork.
No. I didn't know that part. Wait, you would sit with her food and like stare in her eyes?
I'd sit there and go, this is very good.
There's going to be some story that circulates that's like, my boss.
And then when how'd you find out?
I found out because one time, how did I find out?
She was eating it. You go, you're
I'm
eating my
trying
food
to figure
now.
out how long it would take
Oh,
me
no,
to
that
say
is
something.
true. I saw her eat it and finish it, and I'm like, get the fuck out of here. And I went to my wife.
She's eating my food.
I went to my wife, and I said, she's eating all the bloody food. Like, she goes, that's not your food. Oh, no.
How many do you think you ate?
Oh, 7 or 8. I did this for at least 2 weeks. And then I remember one time she had a big thing of food, and I didn't like the look of it. I didn't eat any of it. And I didn't like the look of it, but I ate some of it to be polite.
Yeah.
So it was like food that I didn't like.
I
And
only
I was
ate part
like,
of your lunch to be polite.
Yummy. And I was like with my wife, make sure she doesn't make that again.
And did you ever say anything to her?
No, my wife might have said something. I just don't make eye contact in my house with anyone.
You didn't say anything.
What was I meant to
Why
do?
would you say like, "Hey, sorry,
Maybe
I
a
ate
gift
your food"?
card.
Oh,
Or like,
I probably did. It was a year ago now, but I can't remember that.
All right. Well, if you want to see more hijinks,
But she
like
made
this,
she made these wonderful. She made a lovely ceviche. I ate bowls of that.
She starts bringing more and more quantities.
No, she made enough of that for her to last her a week or something like that, but it had shrimp in it. It's what they call a cocktail. In the Mexicans call it cocktail. It's got a lot of, there's a lot of clamato being used. They love the clamato. They love it. It's right up there. It's one of their ingredients is the clamato.
Are you talking about the Michelin, the beer with the Clamato?
Yeah, that's if you, but they just,
I've never figured that one out.
they cook with clamato in
Yeah.
lots of stuff. Clamato is like a big thing. If you
What's
don't,
it called? A Michelin?
If
Michelada?
you're living in
Michelada.
Australia and you never heard of clamato, and you're like, what the fuck are you talking about? It's clam tomato juice. And in Mexico, the Mexicans, they cook with it all the time, and it's quite tasty.
And there's a michelada.
Yeah, you'd use Modelo beer.
Yeah.
You pour a bit of clamato in there, and then you season the rim with like some chili flakes or some shit, or some salt, like some chili salt.
You put the clamato in. This is what it says. It says tomato juice, dash of hot sauce, soy sauce, teriyaki sauce, Worcestershire sauce, beer, and lime juice. But I thought it was made with the clam one.
Yeah, in Dodger Stadium, they just shove the clam stuff in there, and off you go.
Yeah. And then you're ready to go. And there's $30.
Anyway, Maria, I'm sorry I ate all your food.
She listens?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Well.
She's a very nice lady. She's a lovely lady, and she's like a member of the family now. We adore her. She's quite religious, and she was reading the Bible or something one time at lunch, and I said, "G'day, Maria, what are you up to?" And she goes, "Nothing you'll enjoy. I've seen your comedy."
That's funny. That's funny. All right, I like her.
And I didn't know she even knew what I did. And I'm like, all right, you've done your research. You're still working for the devil, though.
Well, it's because you were eating her lunches, and she showed it to her family. This is the guy right here. He's the devil is tempting me.
Shouldn't have made one meal for me and then like denied me the other meals. It's what was going to happen.
All right, we'll go to JimJefferies.com for all your upcoming shows. You got a bunch of shows coming up there. There's Canada and the United States.
I tell you what, I always complimented her on every meal. Every meal.
It must have really turned the knife
Every
for
meal.
her.
Wherever she was in the house, I would find her out to go, this is delicious.
Yeah. Too bad you can't have any.
I wonder if any part of her brain, she probably assumed it was not malicious, but if there was a small part of your brain that like, this guy's fucking evil, just eating my lunch in front of me, talking about how good it is.
I don't know.
I wonder if there's a Reddit post somewhere talking about you.
Please welcome our guest, Jack Hamilton.
G'day, Jack. Now it's time to play.
Yes, though. Yes, though. Yes, though. Yes, though. Judging a book by its cover.
You know what I do want in this show? I want one of those things where I can press buttons and it says different little things from movies and stuff. I think I'd be very irritating.
Like little samples? Like a drop? Like a little...
Yeah. Say things like, you don't know that, or something, I don't know.
That's what Tommy does on our other podcast.
Yeah, I'd like to have one of those.
You know who wouldn't like that? Everybody else.
Yeah, I know, but my name's on the podcast.
Well, let's talk to Jack Hamilton.
Hello, Jack. How are you? I'm looking at Jack. Jack's got so many keyboards. He couldn't play them all at once. There's not enough hands. He could play one with one hand, another one with one hand, and play single notes with his dick, I reckon, with the configuration he's got there. He's also got a lot of books and stuff. So I'm going to say that, and a professional microphone, which implies to me that podcasting is aplenty at Jack's house. So I'm going to say that Jack has a podcast on music because of his T-shirt that has an electric guitarist on it. Is it music-based, Jack?
It is.
All right.
I don't have a podcast, but yeah, it is.
Are you in a band, Jack?
I am actually. Yeah.
Are you a keyboardist in the band?
I am.
All right. Is our topic a famous band?
Maybe.
All right.
You don't reckon?
Probably, but I wouldn't say that's the topic.
It will involve
lead singer of Coldplay. You don't recognize?
No, that's not, I know the lead singer from Coldplay. It's not lead singer from Coldplay.
Okay.
Are you Liam Gallagher?
He plays keyboards.
Sure.
We're talking about music.
Are we talking about a band?
No.
We're talking about music. We're talking about the rock and roll music.
That's exactly what we're talking about. Rock and roll.
I know a lot about the rock and roll music.
We'll see. Jack Hamilton is a professor of American Studies at the University of Virginia and the author of the book Just Around Midnight, Rock and Roll and the Racial Imagination, which you can buy from all major booksellers. He's also the pop critic for Slate magazine, where he writes regularly, I can't say that word, about music, sports, and other areas of culture, and his writing has appeared in The Atlantic, The New York Times Magazine, The New Yorker, NPR, Politico, and many other venues. You can find him on Twitter at Jack_Hamilton. Thanks for being here. And can you tell us a little bit more about, you can talk about your band if you want, but also like how you got into rock and roll music and rock and roll studies.
Yeah, sure. So I actually started out my background's as a musician. I started playing music pretty seriously when I was in high school, and then was a full-time professional musician for a few years after high school. Then I went to college and kind of became a music journalist, still playing music a lot. Um, and yeah, then from music journalism, I ended up going to get a PhD in like basically American history, American studies. Ended up writing a dissertation about rock music in the 1960s, which became my first book. But yeah, I'm still in a band. I'm in like a small time local cover band in Charlottesville, Virginia, where I live. But yeah, I've been lucky enough to basically be doing music related stuff like basically my whole adult life, and I guess part of my pre-adult life too. So yeah.
All right, well, great. Well, thanks for being here. So this is what we're gonna do. I'm gonna ask Jim a series of questions on rock and roll, and after he's done answering them, you're gonna grade him on his accuracy, 0 through 10, 10 being the best. Kelly's gonna grade him on confidence, and I'm gonna grade him on et cetera. We'll add those all together, and I still don't have any categories. Usually I have a category here, Jack, where I say if you score 21 through 30,
You're a rolling rock.
Rock and roll. 21 through 30, rock and roll. 11 through 20, pebble
Rolling
pusher.
rock,
and then
rock bottom.
0 through 10, stone sniffer.
All right.
Those are pretty good. Edit all that out. All right. So just want to get 20 to 30. Okay. Why is it called rock and roll, Jim?
That's a good question. Because it's an adaptation of Rolling Stone magazine.
Oh, so Rolling Stone came first.
Oh, no, I think it would be the other way. The rock and roll. That's what we hear some of that rock and roll and music. Rock and roll. I don't know why it's called rock and roll. It's a good question. I've never thought about it.
Describe what rock and roll is.
It's got a backbeat. You can't lose it. Any old time you choose it. Got to be rock and roll music if you want to dance with me.
Okay.
Rock and roll music is beat music. It was called for a while. Beat music. Before that, you had skiffle bands and stuff like that. But it had a strong like going on, and it's a guitar for the most part. It's a electric guitar based art form that you meant to move your body a bit.
Who is often credited as the first rock and roll artist?
The first sort of star with a hit, I would say, would be Bill Haley. But then, you've got people who were stars. Elvis was after Bill Haley. I think Buddy Holly was after Bill Haley. I'm going to say Bill Haley.
What influential record producer and songwriter famously collaborated with artists like the Beach Boys and Phil Spector, contributing to the development of rock and roll?
He contributed with Phil Spector.
And collaborated with Beach Boys, Phil Spector. He's a famous record or influential record producer that is,
the guy from Sun Records or something. There's a guy from Sun Records didn't do that. They didn't do that. I'm going to say Gus Hinkinson.
Mm-hmm. How long has rock and roll been around, and when did it become popular?
I would say the first rock and roll album would have happened in the very late 1940s. I'm going to say really from 1952, and it became popular. I'm going to say from 1949 was the first album. 1952, you got your Bill Haley's. 1954, you got your Elvis Presley's. I'm going to say with Elvis Presley, it became more mainstream. So I'm going to say mid-1950s.
So Elvis, okay. What style of music is considered one of the main predecessors of rock and roll?
R&B.
Okay. Which instruments played a prominent role in early rock and roll music?
Electric guitars was the invention of the electric guitar. Which instrument? Drums, because you got to have the beats, like a full drum kit.
Okay.
I'm gonna say like really early. See if you got like skiffle, you got like things like washboards and shit like that. Like people making
a lot of rock and roll washboards.
Yeah, but early the percussion, it was just the banging and the this and the that and the more sort of.
But they had drums already. But that's what you're saying is drums were the
drum. Yeah, drums were a thing. Yeah.
What record label played a crucial role in popularizing rock and roll by signing and promoting artists like Elvis and Jerry Lee
Sun
Lewis?
Records.
Okay. Which musician and songwriter recorded the song Rocket 88 in 1951, and what was the significance of this song?
Is
this a song?
Okay, he was a black artist. I know that much. And okay, this is what I know of this song.
Yeah.
It was one of the first songs the Beatles heard, and it was the first song I believe that George Harrison learnt on his guitar. There in making George Harrison. Okay, without that song, you don't get the Beatles.
So the significance of it is it was
the first domino to be pushed for other artists to
and who
tune into.
Who was the first white artist to have a major hit, and what was the song?
I'm going to go Bill Haley, Rock Around the Clock.
Okay. What musical style influenced by rock and roll emerged in the late 1950s and early 60s, featuring the clean-cut, harmonizing vocal groups?
Say that again?
What musical style influenced by rock and roll emerged in the late 1950s and early 60s, featuring clean-cut, harmonizing vocal groups?
Yeah, I don't think they were called boy bands and girl bands at that stage, but if you're talking like the Temptations, the Supremes, things like that.
Musical style.
Yeah, I don't know what you call that, but like the Temptations, the Supremes, the Foundations, the.
What is rockabilly?
That one.
Okay. Do I have to repeat that? In 1977, a plane carrying what band crashed in Galesburg, Mississippi?
Was it Leonard Skinner?
I don't know. We'll find out.
Yeah, I've seen a thing on this band.
Do you know them? You know a song?
Yeah, no, I know Leonard Skinner. They're freeze, but I don't know if they died. There was no. It was. I know there was a plane accident that involved. What year was it?
77.
77. So there was a plane accident that involved. Who's the one with Ozzy Osbourne?
Oh, that you're talking about the guitarist.
Yeah.
Shit, I can't remember his name right. Yeah, what? Randy Rhoads. Yeah.
Randy Rhoads.
Thank you, Aaron. That's what you think?
Yep.
Okay. Which rock band was designated by the Guinness Book of Records as the world's loudest band in 1972?
I think the world's loudest band was probably The Who when you looked at all the stacked up things. But from going to concerts myself, I want to say AC/DC.
Okay. What British rock band pioneered the use of the light show?
Pink Floyd.
Which American musician won the Nobel Prize for Literature in 2016?
Bob Dylan.
I don't know the answer. That's probably a good guess.
That is the answer.
Which of these artists was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame 3 times? They've been written to Elvis, John Lennon, Eric Clapton, or Ginger Baker.
Yeah, okay, so this is a trick question, right? So Elvis Presley can't go in there 3 times because he never had a band.
Yeah.
John Lennon only really had a band and a solo career, so that's twice. I'm going to say it's Eric Clapton.
Okay.
For his work with session guitarists, work with Cream, and solo career.
Is Cream solo guitar and session guitarist?
Well, he did a lot of...
He had other bands, you know?
Yeah, but I mean, like, he's the guitarist on While My Guitar Gently Weeps.
Yeah, but there was other bands, too, besides...
But I'm saying Eric Clapton.
Okay, you don't know any other
No,
bands?
no,
No,
but-
you said Cream and...
yeah.
Okay, and why'd you just erase that question?
Because we don't need it.
Okay. All right, that's it.
What was that question?
Who was Australia's first famous rock and roll person? But
Give it to me.
We just
Give
read
it to
who
me.
was it?
Johnny O'Keefe, the wild man of rock. You know you make me want to shout, kick my heels up and shout Johnny O'Keefe, man.
Wait.
Johnny
Shout?
O'Keefe.
I thought that
he had
was...
a cover of
That
Shout.
wasn't the answer from the place that I got it. I didn't recognize the name at all, so I was like,
What was the name?
I can't remember. I'll look it up.
Okay, sure, look it up.
Johnny O'Keefe, the wild man of rock.
Jack Hamilton, how did Jim do in his knowledge of rock and roll? 0 through 10, 10's the best.
So I'm grading him on I'm not grading him on the answers to individual questions, just like overall.
Yeah, overall, yeah. We're going to go back through and we'll talk about all.
Honestly, he did pretty well. I would say probably like a 7.5, 8.
Yeah, I was very confident. Whenever he's not being as funny, he knows a lot more about it. And then you're still funny in some ways, but you take it very seriously, even with this helmet on. Why are you looking around like that?
I forgot that I was even wearing it.
No,
you don't
okay.
even think about the helmet after.
How do you do on confidence?
I'm gonna give him a 7.5.
Yeah, I give him a -2 on etc. But you're still rock and roll, dude. Don't worry about that.
Still rock and roll to me.
Especially that helmet.
Doom.
By the way, I forgot to ask you, Jack, are you a doctor? Should I call you Dr. Hamilton or Dr.?
I am. No, you don't need to call me that.
Okay, I didn't want to
Do you ever make people call you doctor though?
No.
Okay, good. Just checking.
No, I don't. My students call me professor, but no one really calls me doctor. I guess occasionally it happens, but I don't like put doctor on form. I'm not a medical doctor, so I don't want to get people like confused with that.
Are you a doctor of love?
Is a doctor of rock and roll.
You ask my wife.
Yeah. Do you ever get her to call you a doctor?
She actually has a PhD as well, so we're a house of doctors.
Doctor.
A house of learned doctors.
All right, so
Yeah.
Jack, why is it called rock and roll?
Yeah, it's a good question. The term usually is attributed to the person who coined it regarding the music. It's usually attributed to Alan Freed, the famous disc jockey, who was based out of Cleveland. That's actually why the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is in Cleveland, Ohio.
Oh.
And rock and roll, I think, originally was a slang term for sex. So much like jazz music, it's named after sex.
What is jazz named after?
So that's the best I could say for the etymology of rock and roll.
And I jazzed the shit out of her.
Wait, jazz is a
You said like jazz. it's
People
named
apparently
after
did
sex.
used to say that, yes.
Boom, chick, boom.
You know what they're doing in there? A little bit of jazz. Yeah. Okay. So that's why the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is in Cleveland. Why? This is the thing now. They got to change the name now because it's just like the Music Hall of Fame. You know, because they'll put like hip hop artists in there, and they'll put like it's not just rock and roll now. I feel like because they'll be like, oh, the Beastie Boys are going in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And you're like, what? They're not a good example because they actually play like guitars, but. Like I think like
Who are you going to be prejudiced against?
I'm not prejudiced against anything. I think they should go in there, but I think Jay-Z's in there, and it's like you wouldn't say Jay-Z's rock and roll. He's like hip hop, you know. So it should be Music Hall of Fame. I'm saying that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I think like Tupac just went in. Yeah, it's definitely they're kind of accepting all genre. There's a ton of country artists in there.
They're
too,
running
and
out
stuff,
of
so-
people, aren't they?
Yeah,
They're
it's
running out of
basically
people.
just an all-purpose music hall of fame. It's kind of dumb in my opinion.
It's a
but,
wonderful
yeah.
museum, though. Oh, it's a fantastic day out. It's lovely.
man.
Oh, it's good. It's good. It's like a very good Hard Rock Cafe.
I don't
Like-
like
That's
Hard
a
Rock
great
Cafe.
description. Yeah.
Like the best Hard Rock Cafe you've ever been to, hands down.
I don't like Hard Rock Cafe.
There's no food there. It's not the food. It's just the wandering around. But like has like Elvis's gun collections and things like that. Like there's cool things in there. And then there's like the full Queen outfits and there's like it's good. It's good stuff. This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. Sometimes in life we're faced with tough choices and the path forward isn't always clear. Most of the time it really helps to talk to someone who's on the outside so you can get help looking at the big picture and deal with the facts over emotion. Whether you're dealing with decisions around career, relationships, or anything else, therapy helps you stay connected to what you really want while you're navigating life so you can move forward with confidence and excitement. Trusting yourself to make decisions that align with your value is like anything else. The more you practice, the easier it gets. If you've benefited from therapy, like I have, right, you'll know that BetterHelp is the way to go. Look, you can go to therapists and you have to wait and the waiting. I used to suffer from so much depression that the idea of making the appointment and getting to the therapist and
Leaving the
driving
house,
over there
yeah.
and leaving the house became too much that I had to stop doing therapy. But not with BetterHelp. This comes directly to you. And if you don't like your therapist, you can change your therapist at any time. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suitable to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire and get matched up with a licensed therapist and switch therapists at any time with no additional charge. Let therapy be your map with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/IDK today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/IDK. Now that it's summer, I'm on vacation mode. I don't want to think about cooking, but I do want my food to be delicious and convenient. Factor Meals is America's #1 ready-to-eat meal kit. Can help you fill up fast with flavorful and nutritious ready-to-eat meals delivered straight to your door. You'll save time, eat well, and stay on track reaching your goals. Ready to feel your best while making the most of your summer adventures? Stick to your wellness goals with premium, ready-to-eat meals featuring high-quality ingredients such as broccoli, leeks, asparagus. Treat yourself to 34-plus weekly restaurant-quality meals options like bruschetta, shrimp risotto. That sounds awesome. Green Goddess chicken, grilled steakhouse filet mignon, ready in just 2 minutes. Factor offers meals, flavor-packed options on the menu each week to fit a variety of lifestyles, from keto to calorie-smart, vegan, veggie, protein plus, prepared by chefs and approved by dietitians. Each meal has all the ingredients you'll need to feel satisfied all day whilst keeping your goals. And if you're looking to mix it up, you can add protein to select veggie... What?
You can add a protein to the vegan and veggie meals. So if you can add it on.
You can make vegan food taste good?
Wow.
Factor legitimately is delicious. It is done by chefs. So like it's one of those meal kits that you're not disappointed by when you heat it up and eat it.
But they fixed vegan food by adding meat.
Yeah, this is the best selling point ever.
With Factor, you can reassure you're making sustainable choice. They offset 100% of the delivery emissions, source 100% renewable electricity from their production sites and offices, and feature sustainably sourced seafood in our meals. This July, get Factor and enjoy eating well without hassle. Simply choose your meals and enjoy fresh, flavor-packed meals delivered to your door, ready in just 2 minutes. No prep, no mess. Hey, you had it, Kel?
Yeah, I had the filet mignon and the Parmesan shrimp. I've actually done Factor multiple times. Like I've ordered it years ago, and it's always been consistent with like really flavorful foods. So very easy to maintain.
Head to factormeals.com/IDK50 and use the code IDCAT50 to get 50% off. That's the code IDKAT50 at factormeals.com/IDCAT50 to get 50% off. That's your code IDKAT50.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a great museum. It's just like this sort of weird, the way they like induct people, and like, yeah, as you mentioned, like Clapton being in 3 different times is
exactly.
Maybe a little overkill.
Is there a panel?
Yeah, there's actually like a voting body, like a bunch of different critics and writers and stuff like that. I think like industry people too. It's like the Academy Awards or something like that. There's like all these people who vote on it.
Yeah, and there's always like controversy. Let's see who is this year.
Is Billy Joel in there yet?
Yeah, I'm sure he's in.
He's got to be in by now. I feel like he'd be let off. He wouldn't get in there.
Here's who's going in this year.
Okay, I'll tell you if they're.
Oh wait,
good.
they're already in there. They were inducted May 3rd.
Okay.
Kate Bush.
Kate Bush. Well, now you run out of people.
She got the Stranger Things push.
She's got Wuthering Heights. Bloody Kate Bush. No, get out of town.
Sheryl Crow.
Yeah, even still, was she that big an artist? She had a few hits.
All she wants to do is have some fun.
Yeah, and what else?
Missy Elliott.
What other hits? Go on, give me all your Sheryl Crow.
That other one from Aaron Brockovich.
Makes you happy.
The Aaron Brockovich movie.
No, that's not enough. You can't get in the Hall of Fame. That's like getting in the NBA Hall of Fame because she played in the league, but she wasn't. She was a bench player at best.
Missy Elliott.
She was a backup singer for Michael Jackson.
I'd say Missy Elliott.
I could give or take her. But Missy Elliott, I understand,
got a lot of hits.
I understand that Missy Elliott's very influential, and a lot of people
she was a pioneer.
reference her as an inspiration to their music.
Sure.
So I'll give Missy Elliott.
George Michael.
Have you
watched the documentary on this?
Yeah, I have.
It's good.
If it was just Wham, if Wham got in, I'd be all for it. But not. I don't need the Faith album. Give me another one.
Willie Nelson. Come on.
I'm going to say something controversial. Overrated, Willie Nelson. He's one of these blokes who's just stuck around long enough that we have to go legend. He's just been around forever. But like, what's the Willie Nelson hits?
There's a lot of Willie Nelson.
Yeah,
hits.
but well, give me him.
Oh my gosh, this is where we're gonna go. All right.
No, Google. I don't. Willie Nelson nut.
Because I'm not a Willie Nelson.
You're
nut.
always on my mind.
All right, Jack. Do you know the Willie Nelson?
Do you know that was after the Elvis cover? He didn't write it either.
How do you feel about this, Jack? Willie Nelson.
Sure.
Yeah. Rage Against the Machine.
Willie Nelson.
They shouldn't be in there.
Yeah, he deserves to be in.
Yeah. See, Jack says Willie Nelson. Yeah.
Name me
No
5
brainer.
songs quickly, Jack. Willie Nelson.
Redheaded Stranger.
No. I'm asking Jack. Come on.
Okay.
5 Willie Nelson
Yeah,
songs.
the
quick.
nightlife.
I don't know.
Yeah, no one knows. Folsom City Blues, I Walk the Wire.
Well,
Oh
here's
man.
On the road again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't wait to get on. He deserves an honorable mention at best, Willie Nelson.
Oh yeah, of course.
Okay, but now I'm going to tell you what the songs are. Always on my mind. On the road again. 7. Oh, Blue Eyes Crying in the Rain. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Mamas Don't Let Your Babies Grow Up to Be Cowboys.
Did he write that one?
I don't know. He's
Don't
saying-
let your baby
Me and
grow
Bobby
up to
McGee.
be Cowboys.
Yeah, he wrote.
City of New Orleans. I like that song. Around, around,
All right,
city-
move off, Willie Nelson. I think I've proven my point.
Okay, let's continue with the questions.
Overrated.
What is rock and roll? Jim said it's got a backbeat. You can't lose it. It's electric guitar based art.
Yeah, I
form.
thought that was a great answer.
Yeah. Okay.
That's a good answer. There you go.
Yeah, I didn't know if there was like an actual answer. Yeah.
As long as like I feel like reciting Chuck Berry lyrics like isn't gonna. That's the best way to define rock and roll.
Oh, Chuck Berry might have been the first rock star. Oh no, he'd be too. See, okay, so the thing, because the Beatles are called the Beatles because of the beat music, and that's why it's spelled B-E-A-T, and because of Buddy Holly and the Crickets is why they're called the Beatles. But they used to call it beat music, and so it's got a backbeat. I think beat music is
can't lose it.
is the definition. I think that I got it right.
So who is often credited as the first rock and roll artist? Is it Bill Haley?
This is like one of those questions where, like, you ask 10 people and you'll get 10 different answers. I think like Bill Haley's, that's not the answer I would give, but I can understand the, I can see the justification behind it. I think Chuck Berry would probably be a better,
If
answer.
I could take my time back, I would say Chuck
But
Berry.
I would give
before.
like Bill Haley partial credit.
I would say Bill Haley's my first white guy. How about that?
That was a question.
Yeah, I think he predates Elvis. So
Yeah, he predates Elvis. There you go.
I didn't even know Bill Haley until you said it, and I thought you were kidding, and then you kept saying it, and then I like looked it up, and I'm
in the
like,
comments.
Hey,
I don't
we're
know.
going to rock around the clock tonight when the clock.
is that him?
You don't know that song? Yeah, that was his big hit.
Yeah.
And he was like a fat guy that just was bald, and he had a little bit of a curl of hair that went down, and that was like girls would scream, Bill Haley in the comments.
yeah, I just didn't know his name. I know exactly what you're talking about now. So, all right, and then what influential record producer and songwriter famously collaborated with artists like the Beach Boys and Phil Spector, contributing to the development of rock and roll? Was it Gus Hinkinson? Is that a fake
Yeah,
name?
just can't know.
Oh.
So I this one kind of threw me because I think when I saw this question earlier, I thought the answer was Phil Spector. I didn't see his name there because he's a producer. He wasn't an artist. So I don't know that would have been my guess.
Yeah, I would assume. I think you put the answer in the question because Phil Spector,
So I'm not totally,
collaborated
I don't know who Gus,
with all these people.
Hinkinson
No,
is.
Gus Hinkinson's made up. But Phil Spector was the guy. Phil Spector, I've got a lot of opinions on Phil Spector. I do, because the thing is, like, so they reckon he killed that woman or whatever like that, and then he goes to court and he wears different wigs, and all the people talk about is how silly he looks in the wigs. Fuck you, people with hair. Fuck you. He's a bald man trying to look nice for court, and he's having a go.
But he did kill the person.
Well, yeah, I don't
think
know.
if you kill someone, who gives a shit
I think if
make
you watch
fun of
that case back, I think he did kill the guy, but I'm not. I think it might have been accidental. I think she made it. Yeah, I don't know. Watch it
Strong
again.
answer.
There's a lot of grey area in that one. That one's no good. But him in the wigs did not help his situation.
I feel like bald shaming is generally allowed for murderers.
If he wore Elton John gets bald shamed all the time
He didn't kill
for his
anybody.
dumb wigs, and it's not right.
Elton John
No,
doesn't
I
get
agree.
bald shamed.
You don't think people make jokes about Elton John's wigs?
I think people just like Elton John.
I don't know. He's in a bit of trouble at the moment, Elton John.
What do you do? Wear a
There's
bad
a
wig?
guy in Britain called Philip Schofield who runs the morning show, and it turns out he was having sex with an 18-year-old staff member who he had known since he was 15, so he has to be off. And then Elton's come out and just gone, you're just shaming him because he's a homosexual. And it's not a good look for Elton because he did know
yeah.
the boy from when he was 15, so Elton probably should have
Yeah.
kept out of it, maybe.
The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
How did rock and roll become popular? How did it become popular, and how long has it been around? I think Jim was saying.
I don't want to, I don't know what the case is with the thing.
Yeah, we've moved on. All right. So, Jack, how did rock and roll become popular, and how long has it been around?
Yeah, this was actually a pretty good answer too. Like I think Jim said late 40s. Again, it's one of those ones where if you ask, depending on who you ask, people give different answers. I usually, this came up in a later question, but Rocket 88, that record, which I guess we'll talk about in a bit, that's 1951. And that's often cited by historians as the first rock and roll record. I would probably, if I like gun to my head, if I had to argue something, I would probably argue for Rocket 88. So 51, but late 40s is like pretty close. And I think 51 is earlier than a lot of people would put it. Like in terms of just like when people's sort of general conception of when rock and roll gets. So I think late 40s is a pretty good answer.
And it became popular or mainstream. Is it? Jim said Elvis. Is that when it really?
There was like Little Richard and Chuck Berry and Bill Haley were all national stars prior to Elvis, but like certainly Elvis is kind of when it really, really takes off. And Elvis is, I think, kind of first national hits are very early 1956. So it's like it's really like Rocket 88 is 51, but it's really not until the mid 50s where you get like this sort of big kind of collection of early rock and roll artists who are all having hits at the same time. And that's when you start seeing the phrase rock and roll appear places like pretty commonly. Like when Rocket 88 came out in 1951, no one actually called it a rock and roll record. It's been kind of like retroactively designated as the first rock and roll record.
Yeah, and you could talk about, we can jump ahead there. Rocket 88, who was the musician that recorded it? And then you said it was significant because it's the first rock song, you said.
Yeah, so it's actually it's kind of a funny story. It's credited to a band called Jackie Brenston and his Delta Cats. But it's actually like the person who's really behind Rocket 88 is Ike Turner, the notorious future husband of Tina Turner. So Ike Turner played
Tina
piano
her biggest hit
on that record and wrote it.
Sorry, everyone.
And Ike Turner basically he was like the sort of brains behind Jackie Brenston and his Delta Cats. So it's really Ike Turner who's the sort of driving force behind that record.
Yeah, you don't hear a lot of bands like that. There are some, but like the so and so and blah blah blah, it's like too long now. I think there's like Nathaniel Rateliff or something. But Jackie Brenston and the Delta Cats. And what style of music is considered one of the main predecessors of rock and roll? Jim said R&B.
Yeah, absolutely.
Rhythm and blues. All right. Yeah. Do you know how to do rhythm and blues?
Yeah.
Go do
Dun,
it.
dun, 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 bum, 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 ba-da-da-da, dun, 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 da-da-da-da, dun, dun.
Yeah, I just wanted you to sing again. Which instruments played a prominent role in the early rock and roll music? Jim says electric guitar and drum kit. Were those them?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like it's like, I think electric guitar is kind of the definitive rock and roll instrument. Also, I mean, piano was actually really, really common on early rock and roll records. Most of them had piano. And there are certainly certain early rock and roll stars like Jerry Lee Lewis or Little Richard who were, really, really known as piano players. That starts to fade a little bit in the 1960s. But yeah, I mean, electric guitar from very early on is the, kind of iconic rock and roll instrument. Chuck Berry being an electric guitarist, Buddy Holly played guitar. And certainly electric guitar had been around for decades prior to rock and roll, but I think, it's like, the electric guitar is really like, that's the quintessential rock and roll instrument. So yeah, that's a 10 out of 10 on that answer.
What about washboards?
Yeah, washboard.
That's for the skiffle music.
What's skiffle?
Yeah, I've never heard of skiffle.
Skiffle bands
Yeah,
were a thing through the north of England that John Lennon and the Quarrymen were a skiffle band, which were a bit more sort of basic instruments, playing single chord, sort of a strumming sort of noise that drove it forward. It was to rock and roll, it's caveman-esque before. Is that right, Jack? Am I saying that right?
Yeah, no, that's totally right. I mean, it's right in specifically with regards to the UK. Like skiffle never really caught on in the US. It was like very much a UK based thing. And similarly, you mentioned earlier beat music. Like beat music was a phrase that was really confined to the UK. Like you wouldn't see that in the American press, but it's like that's what in the UK press in the 50s and 60s, early 60s called rock and roll music, basically. Yeah, and skiffle's pretty interesting. It's like it's kind of like a mashup of a bunch of different things. There's a lot of like country influences in it and sort of folk music. So it was more Yeah, like acoustic guitars, washboards, like as you said, bass drums, sometimes not even drums, but like
A stick with a
like
string on it where you go
every-
dunk, 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 dunk,
yeah,
dunk,
totally,
dunk,
like
that.
2-string basses.
Yeah.
But yeah, like so many major British musicians of the 60s and onward kind of cut their teeth in skiffle bands. There's a great clip on YouTube you can look up of like Jimmy Page when he's like 12 years old was on some like talent show in England. He's like wearing a suit and he's like, my name's James Page and I play skiffle.
Yeah.
And so it's like future Led Zeppelin mastermind Jimmy Page started as a skiffle player.
Well, it's like so the part of the reason that all the bands during the Pacemakers and the Beatles and all that sort of stuff, a lot of them came out of Liverpool is because that was where the port was, and that's where the albums came through, and the sailors would bring in the music from America, and that's where it wasn't being distributed down in London and all that type of stuff, and that's why a lot of the musicians came from the north. There you go.
That makes sense.
I always wondered how I feel like at some point England started to surpass America in rock and roll.
Well, okay, so you had the British invasion in the 1960s.
I was asking Jack, but
Oh, okay. Well, okay.
Yeah, I mean, like I don't know about surpass, but certainly like England's definitely like punched above its weight. I would say, it's a relatively small country, and the amount of like major, obviously the '60s, you have the Beatles and the Stones, and all the British invasion bands, the Who, the Kinks, but then certainly it never goes away. The '70s have Led Zeppelin, David Bowie, Queen. The '80s obviously have tons of I mean, it's like English music. Yeah, it's pretty impressive. I don't know if I'd say surpassed, but they definitely
the weather
kept pace.
It's the weather because a lot of live music venues and little tiny bars and stuff like that, because people like to be entertained and people want to do, like, you know what I mean? If you this is why you get no rock bands from the Seychelles. The Maldives are yet to give us a great rock band.
That's true. In Hawaii, they got some really good.
Nothing thumps in Hawaii. It's too chill.
Yeah, that's a good point. Good point. We've talked about this on the road, Jim. Remember, it seems that England is big on bands and groups, and
America likes the individual.
The individual solo.
There's very few solo artists. Like there's David Bowie, and there's a few people from Britain, but for the most part,
and then in America there are bands. Obviously, Eagles are huge. We're a huge.
Because
band
what's the top 5 American bands of all time?
Yeah, I mean, like I guess, like commercially, yeah, like probably the Eagles would be one of them. Yeah. Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Who else? Because I feel like Britain, you can just rattle off like you did. Led Zeppelin, the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, the Kinks. You can do these things. The Who, you can do it very quickly. In America, you go like, the Eagles, the Grateful Dead. But then if you're going to go solo artists, you go Elvis Presley, Madonna. You can do that a lot quicker. Do you think that's about Americans being more individualistic and arrogant?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe. I mean, like certainly the 80s, you got like Guns N' Roses, Motley Crue, and then obviously grunge, you got Nirvana, Pearl Jam, Soundgarden, all that stuff.
I love 90s
it's
music.
true. I mean, it's weird that there's not more, when you think about like the sort of most iconic rock bands, particularly in the 60s and 70s, like a lot of them are British for sure.
I like 90s grunge music. I think America did 90s music and Britain, I like all the 90s, but it's when I was young, so that's where your music taste comes from. But when you said Motley Crue just then, can we agree that they're overrated shit? Motley Crue.
Yeah.
Oh my
I'm not going to defend
they're
Motley Crue.
fucking dog shit, Motley Crue.
They were big.
Every single Motley Crue song can be sung by a boy band like One Direction. No problem.
I can't even think of a song.
He's the one that goes like to feel good. He's the one that makes you feel all right. Like, they're just fucking pop songs, and for some reason they were called like as hair metal or whatever. But they're not heavy. They're not cool. They're fucking losers.
Yeah, you did this on the podcast already. This is a very strong opinion.
I have a very. I went and saw him in concert, and I was like, oh yuck.
Here's other bands from America: Eagles, Aerosmith was big, Metallica, Guns N' Roses, Beach Boys, Red Hot Chili Peppers, The Doors.
Heavy metal from America, number 1. American heavy
Van
metal.
Halen, Foo Fighters, Fleetwood Mac's a big band. There's some big bands, but yeah,
of course. Jack, what's your opinion on Australian rock and roll music, and do you know much about it? And if so, which bands do you rate?
Yeah, I'm a huge AC/DC fan. I love AC/DC. They would definitely be my favorite Australian band. I like the Bee Gees a lot too, actually.
I love the
as,
Bee Gees.
like,
There's a lot of arguments that the Bee Gees are British, whether they're Australian or British, but they cut,
Yeah,
their
I know.
teeth. They cut their teeth in Australia.
Yeah, I guess they were British originally, but grew up in Australia. Do I have that right?
That's correct. I think they were born in Manchester,
Yeah.
and then when the twins were like 6 years old, they moved over to Australia. By the time the twins were 9 years old, they were on Australian bandstand TV shows and stuff like that. And early Bee Gees music is right up there with the Beatles, like very good stuff. But before they went disco, the disco stuff's more popular. I could talk about the Bee Gees all day. What do we rate about Men at Work, Midnight Oil, Australia Crawl, and Crowded House, even though they're from New Zealand?
Yeah, so Men at Work I kind of only know through like the big songs that were on the radio when I was a kid.
That's all the ones you need
Midnight
to know.
Oil is a band that I like know of more than I really know. I will confess I don't really know the third band that you mentioned. And then Crowded House. Yeah, I mean Crowded House had some, again, they're like a band I more know just through like the stuff that was on the radio and on MTV when I was a kid. But yeah, I don't know. Australia certainly produced a lot of excellent music.
What about Jet? Do you like Jet?
Are they the heavy metal band?
They're the ones that go, "Are you going to be my girl?"
Oh, okay.
Dun, dun,
They
dun.
had the first Apple iPod commercial with.
Oh, right. Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. Yeah, that's like the only Jet song I know. It
What
was
about
cool.
Wolf Mother was a big one. Wolf Mother. What about Tame Impala? It's a big forest band.
Oh yeah,
Impala.
Tame Impala's good. I forgot that they were Australian. Yeah. Yeah, they're actually really good.
It's technically a single guy, but yeah, we'll call him a band.
Oh right.
Yeah. All right. Who was the first white artist of a major hit, and what was the song? Was it Bill Haley, "Rock Around the Clock"?
That might be right. I can't remember if that came before. It was definitely Bill Haley, I would say. It's either that or his cover of "Shake, Rattle, and Roll." I can't remember which one came first, but they're right around the same time. So yeah, but it is. I think it would be Bill Haley would be the correct answer.
How big is Dion in the world of history of rock and roll? He's pretty big, right?
Yeah, I mean, he had a lot of hits and was like a great singer. He's a little bit later. Like Dion kind of gets big, I think, in the late 50s, early 60s. Like a lot of his big hits are early 60s. But he was a really very highly regarded vocalist for sure.
Do you know him, Jim? Dion?
No.
"Run Around Sue," "The Wanderer,"
And
and "I'm the Wanderer." That, right?
Yeah, good songs.
So-
I've never heard of him. But
Yeah, well, I was doing a gig one time. It was like a recovery. It was like 12-step recovery thing where they like bust all these people and that were in like 90-day programs, and they were just like.
But haven't these people been through enough?
So there was like music and a comedy, whatever. And so I'm up in this green room and I'm with the other comics, and this guy walks in and he's just like, owning the room, kind of like talking to everybody. He's like, "So I'll go up there, I'll play a couple songs, I'll do this, and then I'll bring you up, and then blah, 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 and this and that." And then he goes, "Yeah." And then my friend introduced me. He goes, "And this is Forrest." He's one of the comics. He goes, "Well, you don't look that funny." That's what he said to me. I go, "Well, you don't look that good at whatever you do, buddy," whatever. And then we start walking down the hall, go to stage. I go, "Who's that guy?" And they go, "You know Dion?" I go, The singer Dion, that's like in the Hall of Fame. Yeah, that's him. Huh. Well, that was embarrassing. I just told him he was a piece of shit.
Oh, I always get him mixed up with Celine Dion.
Yeah. Anyways, he was a nice guy. He didn't mind it, that I guess. But yeah, I just told a guy that's in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, like, "You suck, guy." Anyways,
I mean, he started with you first. So.
I know, but he's got the creds. I'm just like, yeah, anyways, fun times.
But Forrest doesn't look that funny. That's a compliment. You want to? You want
That's
to?
what to do with that.
Yeah. You look funny.
What musical style influenced by rock and roll emerged in the late 50s and early 60s featuring clean-cut harmonizing vocal groups? Jim said Temptation Supremes, but he couldn't remember what you'd call them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the answer is doo-wop. Would be the sort of genre of music, and certainly, yeah, I mean, the Temptations would have come, sort of probably started out as singing doo-wop. They're more kind of classified with Motown, but a lot of the Motown groups came out of the doo-wop tradition. So yeah, doo-wop is basically like harmonizing vocals was pretty popular in the 1950s.
And then rockabilly, I don't remember. It just says mouth noises here. What'd you do, Jim?
He was.
Boom, ba-dum, ba-dum, ba-dum,
I remember the mouth noises as being pretty accurate, though.
Yeah.
I thought rockabilly was like I don't know what rockabilly is. What is it?
Yeah, I
rockabilly?
was thinking more like banjos. I don't know.
Yeah, so it's like it comes from I think that country music back in like the 20s and 30s used to be called hillbilly music before that was like deemed offensive. So rockabilly is basically a combination of rock and roll and hillbilly. So it's basically like country inflected rock and roll or rock and roll inflected country. So people like Carl Perkins, yeah, I mean, like a lot of this stuff, I think Jim mentioned Sun Records before. Some early Johnny Cash would get classified as rockabilly.
Johnny Cash is shit.
Johnny Burnett. There's a bunch of just like it's
That hasn't got to him yet.
There's a delay there, so that
yeah. He doesn't know, but Johnny Cash is no good.
You don't like Johnny Cash. I like Johnny Cash.
Johnny Cash doesn't have any songs.
No, I heard it.
You quizzed me one time, and I named you like 10 songs, and you go, "Those
over the
songs."
course of 50 years. So it's a hit a decade.
No, but those are the songs I liked.
I got more songs than that.
Okay, you're brilliant. In 1977, a plane carrying what band crashed in Galesburg, Mississippi? You said Leonard Skinner, then changed it to Randy Rhoads.
Delay.
It's Leonard Skinner. I think Randy Rhoads is like early 80s. But yeah, it's Leonard Skinner I'm pretty confident.
Yeah, Randy Rhoads.
Bless you.
You're right there.
Yeah.
Randy Rhoads. I just saw this. Like, it was on YouTube or something. They crashed. That plane that crashed in Ozzy Osbourne's bus.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah, like they just went flying one morning when they were on tour.
Yeah, I think he might have been on the bus and the plane crashed into it or something. It's something crazy.
I just saw this YouTube thing, so
it's like he's always someone like he was an amazing guitar player. I'm not a huge metal guy, but like I mean Randy Rhoads is like a genius guitar player. I mean like the stuff he played on is incredible. Like he's kind of one of the first people that really introduced that sort of classical finger tapping, like Eddie Van Halen got a lot of his stuff, I think through Randy Rhoads. He was actually like he taught a lot of guitar. So a lot of the like 80s metal guys who came out of LA, actually took lessons from him.
Yeah. So the video I saw, this is terrible. So they were touring, and I want to say they were in Florida somewhere. And in the morning, Randy Rhoads woke up, and this guy that was part of the tour said, "Hey, you want to go fly in this small plane?" So everyone was sleeping. They went up flying, and they started buzzing the buses where people were sleeping, like coming down, buzzing them, and it clipped. I think the bus that Ozzy Osbourne was on, and then the plane just crashed, and everybody came out of their buses, and he was dead. And I was like, "Fun times." So.
Oh, he's dead in the field. Ooh. That's what Ozzy would have sounded like. That's me, Ozzy Osbourne. Sharon, he's dead in the field. The field dead. Oh. Drugs.
Which rock band was designated by the Guinness Book of World Records as the world's loudest band in 1972? Was it The Who or AC/DC?
I think it is The Who. I think that's the answer.
Okay.
For their Live at Leeds show, which was turned into a live album and is a great live album.
I wonder how did they have a decibel meter or something? I don't know what they did. They're like, this is loud.
They used to have a lot of amps behind them. The whole backdrop was like amps.
Yeah. And then the British rock band pioneered the use of the light show. Was it Pink Floyd?
I think that's right. Yeah. I honestly I'm not a huge Pink Floyd guy. But
me neither. I think Pink Floyd is dog shit. If I had to answer
that, that's what I would guess.
Forrest gets a hard on for Pink Floyd. You sometimes just see him just sweaty in a corner masturbating.
You gotta wait.
Pink Floyd.
You gotta wait there in the delay.
You'll get it. You'll get it eventually. You've got a laugh in the mail, sir. Coming in 5, 4, 3, 2.
I'm gonna have Jack cut out all the dead air. So.
Okay. Yeah.
There it is. That's the laugh in the mail.
See. There's a little bit of delay. Pink Floyd's great. What do you mean Pink Floyd's dog shit?
Don't like Pink Floyd.
You like Oasis.
Fucking
you know how much better Pink Floyd is than Oasis? Oasis is garbage.
Oasis, a very important band.
No, they're not. If they never existed, nothing would have changed.
They brought back rock and roll to the masses, Oasis.
Get the fuck out of here.
Before that, we were just popping pills and listening to fucking techno in the early 90s. The British Revolution came back, Oasis and Blue. Without that, we missed a step.
It's not here anymore, but if you would have went to the Pink Floyd exhibit, then not only sonically did they change everything, electronically with the music, visually, they're one of the most influential bands ever.
All these things you say make me like them less.
Well, you wouldn't have had Oasis without him. How about that?
Don't know about that.
I just read something about the Gallaghers. They said without Pink Floyd, there'd be no us.
No, that's
I
not
saw a
true.
video. It was on the same
true.
video with
It's not
Randy
true.
Rhoads. Which American musician won the Nobel Prize for Literature in 2016? Is it Bob Dylan?
Yep.
It definitely is Bob Dylan, yeah. Yeah, Jim was very confident of his answer in that one, and correctly so. Bob Dylan is the only rock and roll musician to win a Nobel Prize in literature, and probably will be the only one for a pretty long time.
Or
But
as I call
yeah,
him,
it's Bob Dylan.
Robert Zimmerman.
When do you call him that?
When I see him.
And then you already mentioned it. Eric Clapton is the artist to be inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame 3 times. I'm assuming.
Yeah, I think it's as a member of Cream, a member of the Yardbirds, and then as a solo artist. So 2 of them are bands, and then he's in as a solo artist too. I think he's the only person that's in 3 times. There might be Paul McCartney might be in 3 times if Wings is in. I don't think they are though. I think Clapton's the only one who's in 3 times.
What? Wings isn't in? You got to put Wings in.
I know. I would put Wings in. I'm a Wings fan.
I like Wings,
but
yeah.
I don't know that they're. I don't think that they're in.
Maybe the name. It's a dumb name, Wings. Eric Clapton is going to go in a 4th time for his anti-vax song, I heard, too. So that's going to be good.
Is he an anti-vaxxer?
Oh, my God. Yeah. He wrote one with, Van Morrison. It's the worst song you'll ever hear. And you're like, we got to put this out there. Like, what? Don't, just stop, guys.
Oh, is it an anti-vax song?
It's like, yeah, I can find it.
It's like anti-COVID lockdowns or something. They got worked up about England's COVID policy or something.
Oh, I wish we had the
it's a
lockdowns
mess.
again. Oh,
Yeah.
a wonderful time.
yeah, well,
we should lock down for 1 year every 3. Wonderful. And then you should know they're coming. Like, find someone to shag quickly. It's coming in 10.
not everybody's house is as nice as yours to be locked down in.
Well, change that.
So you're going to become a politician. So.
See, I have a theory that, like, I probably had relationships in my 20s that would have worked out if I didn't live in such small accommodations. The bigger the house, the longer the marriage.
Yeah.
You can get away from
There was
each
people
other.
that were locked down. There was like 6 people living in a house like 16th the size of yours. That's not fun.
Oh, if they were fun people.
You can only play Uno so many times.
No, you get other board games. They were still delivering board games.
What was the question for Australia?
So when I Google the answer, it was, you said Jimmy O'Keefe, right?
Johnny O'Keefe.
Or Johnny O'Keefe. But the trivia thing I got it from, that was not the answer on there. It was a name that I had
was
never
it? What's
heard
the
before.
name?
I can't remember. It's one of those trivia sites that you can't see the questions until you've answered all of the questions. And it's the last question out of like 75, and I'm not doing it.
Was it Yothu Yindi?
No, it was 3 names.
Yothu
It was 3
Yindi.
full
Yothu
names.
Yindi was the name of an Aboriginal band.
They're rock?
Yeah, they're a rock Aboriginal band.
Yeah.
We'll close out the episode with a bit of Yothu Yindi. Find me Treaty, yeah.
I don't think we can play music on this podcast.
Yeah, but we're trying to advertise Yothu Yindi.
I think we need rights to
Yeah.
play music.
I don't think we're allowed to play
We can
music.
play it. We can play it all we want on Patreon. in
I could sing it for you, but it would be racially intolerant
yeah,
because I would be saying the words like gibberish.
Yeah,
let's
don't
save that for
Don't
later.
do that. Yeah, do that at home. Do it in the shower.
Yeah,
Yothu Yindi.
I reckon I'd get close, but I might get it a bit wrong. It's like when you sing Feliz Navidad and you just make up the words.
I don't make up the words.
I do. Feliz Navidad, Feliz Order, de Mololidaya. I want to wish you a Merry Christmas.
Wait, you say Feliz Navidad and then what after that?
Feliz Navidad. Feliz Navidad.
Yeah.
Feliz lave solo.
Wait, no, it's still Feliz Navidad. That next one.
He changed the whole greeting.
I want to wish you. No, it's not all. There's a little bit.
Prosperos años.
And
And felicidad. It's and a happy
I want
New
to
Year.
wish you a Merry Christmas.
Yeah, what do they sing in English?
I want to wish you a Merry
We
Christmas.
can't
I
even
want
do
to
it.
wish you a Merry
They're saying the same thing in Spanish.
From the bottom
I know,
of my heart.
they actually say Happy New Year. Yes, okay, that's different. All
We're
right.
gonna get sued for that too.
All right, we got to cut that out.
I don't think I got the words even close to right.
No.
So I don't think we can get sued. I changed the song
That's
by 15
fair.
to 20%.
Oh, yeah, in a court that'll hold up. All right, Jack, this is a part of our episode called Dinner Party Facts. We ask our guests to give us some sort of fact that's interesting or obscure about this topic they can use to impress people. What do you got for us?
So my brain was sort of jogged to this because Robert Kennedy's son, as you guys probably know, is currently running for president and is like kind of a whack job. Actually, probably more than kind of a whack job. But it reminded me of one of my favorite pieces of sort of like, I don't even know if it's trivia, but kind of like musical anecdotes, is I'm a big Rolling Stones fan. And years ago, I learned that when the Rolling Stones were recording Sympathy for the Devil, which is obviously one of their most famous songs, they were recording it in 1968. And they were... their lyric, I shouted out who killed the Kennedys when after all it was you and me, which is probably one of the most famous lines in that song, was originally written as I shouted out who killed Kennedy, but after all it was you and me. And because they were writing it about John F. Kennedy, who had been obviously assassinated 5 years earlier. While they were in the process of recording Beggar's Banquet, Robert Kennedy was shot. And like basically everyone around the Stones was like, you guys got to take that lyric out. It's so offensive now. Like everyone's going to think that this has been now a song about Bobby Kennedy being killed, and it's going to come out like, a month or two after his assassination. And the Stones didn't want to change the line. So instead they just made it plural. And they changed it to I shouted out who killed the Kennedys when after all it was you and me, which is I think like a much better line than I shouted out who killed Kennedy. And it's just like it's so memorable, but it's like what an insane little like historical coincidence. I mean, when I first heard that, to like go and look up, like, wait, can that actually possibly be true? And they were in the studio. The timeline matches up. So yeah, just like a crazy piece of. I mean, everything about the Stones in the late '60s is like totally insane. They were just like making all this incredible music and also having all this horrible stuff happening around them. But yeah, that's just one. So that's something that I've certainly told that anecdote at dinner parties before. So maybe I don't know, at least a few of your listeners who are interested in the Rolling Stones will find that very morbid piece of historical coincidence interesting.
That's a banger. You could even argue there was a bit of luck, really. Eh?
Yeah.
Because you don't want to bring out the song and then the Kennedy dies a week later after you record
Yeah,
it.
no, totally.
Stroke of luck.
Yeah, for sure. Real
And
quick,
also, if more Kennedys die in the future, the song's still good to go.
well, they have.
Yeah, I know.
I had one question I forgot to ask. Is Bruce Springsteen the Jimmy Buffett of New Jersey? Is that accurate?
Yeah, I'm actually more of like a Springsteen skeptic than a lot of people. I mean, I like some of his music, but I've never been like a Bruce super fan. So I would tepidly endorse that take. It's certainly provocative.
I like Bruce Springsteen more than
people
Forrest,
off,
and I don't
but-
like Bruce Springsteen that much.
I'm with you.
Forrest
I'm a
hates Springsteen.
Bruce Springsteen skeptic is going to be my new term. I'm also a Bruce.
Put it on your Instagram
Yeah,
bio.
I have a conspiracy theory. He doesn't exist. All right. Well, Jack Hamilton, you can find him on Twitter, Jack_Hamilton. And his book is Just Around Midnight, Rock and Roll and the Racial Imagination. Pick that up wherever you buy books and major booksellers. Thank you, Jack Hamilton, for being with us.
Thank you, Jack. That was a pleasure, mate. If you're ever at a party and someone comes up to you and goes, Bruce
thanks so much for having me on. It was a lot of fun.
If someone comes up to you and goes, Bruce Springsteen, he's good. Go, well, I don't know about that. And walk away. And then talk to Forrest. He'll get very upset about it. Good night, Australia.
No, I'll agree.